Early in the 18th century, foreigners from across the seas came and established a port at Calcutta. They came as traders, but their aim was bigger and far-reaching. Next to the port, they built a fort. And it is history now as to how these merchants turned rulers overnight. Soon, alongside the temples and mosques strewn over the land, arose the spires of churches, emblazoning the architecture of the West, and also many other symbols of Western achievements. India had entered a new phase of history, a phase full of conflicts, profound changes, upheavals, and anguish. Efforts at cultural conquest followed the victory in the battlefield. First came the preachers from abroad. Thanks to the widespread illiteracy and degeneration in the country, they were able to aim their blow right at the heart. They ridiculed the country's civilization, religion, its customs and rituals. They praised their own religion and civilization. The printing press had arrived. Industry was on its way. Enlightened Indians rose in revolt against the old order and began rejecting everything Indian. Some converted themselves to Christianity. Inspired by the new thoughts from the West, they wanted to demolish the very foundation of Indian culture. They took to blind imitation of foreign customs and postures. Another batch of men proclaimed that not destruction but reformation of society at large was a way forward, and they helped initiating a new age of Renaissance. The unquestioned leader of this Renaissance of the 19th century was Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Well versed in the philosophical thoughts of the West, erudite and imbued with a deep love for humanity, Ram Mohan demanded unequivocal restoration of the true spirit of the Shastras and founded the Brahmo Dharma. In 1875, another powerful religious movement named the Arya Samaj was launched by Swami Dayanand Saraswati in Bombay. Swami Dayanand stood firmly by the Vedas and returned the malignant attacks upon our religion by Christianity. He also called for some sweeping changes in our own social and religious customs. The caste system as a religious institution had to lose its sanctity. The monopoly of the Brahmins over the Vedas had to be denied, and women had to be liberated from a number of disabilities. Around this time was also heard the thundering call of the great Vidyasagar to light the lamp of knowledge and spread education among the masses.
सहस्रशीर्षा पुरुषः सहस्राक्षः सहस्रपात् सबूमिं विश्वतो वृत्वा.
The Vedas are the heart of the wisdom of ancient India. At the very dawn of Aryan civilization, the wise men of India sang their hymns to the glory and the power of consciousness secret in nature. They perceived the rhythm of life holding together all creation, encompassing all matter, the rhythm that was the very heart of things. The Upanishads carried the same consciousness to deeper depths. The wise men looked upon nature and then looked inwards. Where have I come from? Where am I going? What is this creation? Who is the creator? Young boy Nachiketa stood before death and asked, "Will my soul survive after death?" And in answer, death said, "Do not aspire for this knowledge, for this knowledge is debated even by the gods. Ask for long life. Live for hundreds of years. Choose sons and grandsons. Choose wealth. Live as well as you can. But do not seek the answer to such questions." But Nachiketa was not daunted. Man is not to be satisfied by riches, and riches we shall have if we beheld thee. Tell me of that which thou seest otherwhere than in virtue, otherwhere than in unrighteousness, in this created and this uncreated, otherwhere than in that which has been and that which shall be. And death had to tell him finally about the soul, the Atman, which encompasses all beings and creation, the Atman that is indestructible, the Atman that was to be known and reached not through logic and learning, but through faith, devotion and knowledge. Nachiketa, the symbol of the questioning man of all ages, sought and found the high road to truth. Maitreyi, wife of the Rishi Yajnavalkya, who, when offered worldly goods by the Rishi, asked, "Will these worldly goods that you are offering, O Lord, give me the supreme knowledge and fulfillment? What would I do with all these that do not give me knowledge and immortality?" Ramayana is undoubtedly the immortal epic of India. Deep within the heart of every Indian lives the great image of Ramachandra, his devotion to truth, his self-sacrifice, and dedication to the good of his subjects. As with Ramayana, so with Mahabharata. The call that went forth from Lord Krishna to Arjuna, asking him to give up all sloth and respond to the call of battle, and the great Gita, which, based on the epic battle of Mahabharata, proclaimed the eternal truth. Whenever evil would threaten to encompass good, would there be an upheaval, and there would arise among men a new deliverer to uphold the good and the virtuous and destroy all evil. Along this high road of history, there appeared one day Gautama, the Buddha. Moved by the pathos of human life, he looked for the supreme knowledge that would end all suffering. Gautama renounced the world in search of eternal knowledge and subjected himself to the most rigorous austerities. His enlightened message spread to millions of people and helped them to reach out to new dimensions of being out of their prison houses of pain. Over half the world, his message of love and compassion gave men a new hope. Mahavira, also known as Vardhamana, was yet another great seeker who realized the transitory nature of the world early in life. After 12 years of burning penance, he attained enlightenment and began to preach his doctrines. The popularization of ahimsa, or the principle of non-violence, was his chief contribution, which he elaborated into an ethical code for the householders as well as for the monks. The 4th century AD may be regarded as a turning point in the religious history of India, for that was when divinity manifested in the south of India in the person of a young Brahmin, Shankaracharya. Shankara, with the help of scriptural evidence and dialectic skill, proved that the decadent and corrupt practices into which the religious life of the country had fallen militated against the very spirit of the Vedas. He reformed these very practices by infusing into them the noble principles of Vedic worship and transformed them into means of self-realization. From Shankara's time to that of Dayanand Saraswati, there have been many more saints and seers who offered their lives for upholding the cause of the Sanatana Dharma. Like precious pearls threaded in the garland of time, they have all shone forth in the religious-spiritual firmament of India at various ordained times through the centuries. The 63 Nayanars of South India, among whom Appar, Sundarar, Manikya Vajagar, Tirukஞான Sambandhar were the most eminent Shaiva saints. The Alvars of Tamil Nadu, who preempted the Vaishnavite movement. The great Acharyas, Sri Ramanujacharya, Sri Vallabhacharya and Sri Madhavacharya. Sri Chaitanya of the 16th century with his message of universal love. Nanak, Kabir, Narsi Mehta, Tulsi Das, Mirabai, who sang their sweet songs of devotion to the ordinary masses and broke all man-made boundaries of caste and convention. Saint musician Tyagaraja, Basaveshwara of Karnataka, Tiruvalluvar, the poet saint of Tamil Nadu, Sant Ramadasa, Sant Jnaneshwar and Sant Tukaram of Maharashtra, poet saint Surdas, Shankaradeva, Sri Chattambi Swamigal and Sri Narayana Guru, the reformer saints of caste-ridden Kerala. It is this line of noble souls that have helped the people of India to safeguard their identity and to hold themselves together with dignity and pride in times of turbulence, turmoil and unrest. As history was preparing its answers behind the scenes, in 1863, in this house of the Dutts of Simulia, Narendranath was born. As for the young lad Narendranath, born in the home of the Dutts, a strange anguish tormented him since childhood. Stirred by the final question in his heart, since the very beginning, he made repeated trips to the Brahma Samaj. Hearing the call of renunciation within, he took to strict asceticism. He visited places of worship. He sang. He prayed. But alas, where was God? Why was there no response? Why such an impenetrable darkness, such eternal silence? At the residence of Surendranath Mitra, Narendranath met the simple, ordinary Brahmin of Dakshineshwara, who appeared half mad. Narendranath asked the Brahmin if he had seen God. Sri Ramakrishna replied with a smile that not only had he seen God, but he could show God to Naren also. For the first time, Naren felt that the Brahmin had touched him to his very roots. He felt that religion was a reality to be felt, to be sensed in an infinitely more intense way than we can sense the transactional world around us. He began meeting this humble man of Dakshineshwar. He sang at the feet of the master, stirred by an inner urge, as if he had felt a tug at the umbilical cord. But the trial was not over yet. Narendranath lost his father, and the new responsibility of providing for the family confronted him. No one gave him a job. With poverty and pain overflowing, he came one day to Dakshineshwar and complained to the Paramahamsa, "Why don't you ask your mother to end the state of destitution of mine?" Ramakrishna replied affectionately, "Why don't you go and tell the mother yourself? Why depend on me?" While he stood that day by the flickering light of the lamp before the image of goddess Kali, He forgot all his material wants, his destitution. But all he found himself asking the mother was, "Give me renunciation. Give unto me knowledge and devotion. Grant that I may have uninterrupted vision of thee." Narendranath was looking for deliverance and emancipation. The Paramahamsa, knowing this, told him one day, "You are preoccupied with the thoughts of your own emancipation. But what about the world? What kind of selfishness is this? I expected you to be like the big banyan tree and thousands of people seeking shelter under the cool shade of your leaves. Would you deprive everybody else for the sake of fulfilling only the desire of your heart? Don't you want to share with others the grace that you ask for your own self?" In the garden house of Kausipur, Sri Ramakrishna was lying severely ill. Beckoning Narendranath to him, the Paramahamsa said, "I hand over to you all that I have. I am without anything now." With these words, the great Paramahamsa had kindled in Narendranath the fire of complete self-realization, and out of it emerged Narendranath, transformed as Vivekananda. After the passing away of Sri Ramakrishna, Narendranath and other brother disciples gathered in a dilapidated house at Baranagar and began their austere search for the eternal truth. At Anpur, one silent evening, Narendranath, along with his Guru Bhais, stood under the canopy of the sky and in front of the sacred fire took the vow to form themselves into the monastic order of Ramakrishna. Then one day, the call came from the world outside, and Swami Vivekananda was on his pilgrimage. This great land of India had to be known, to be felt, to be understood. And so the Swami was on the move, marching from village to village, from town to town, crossing rivers and mountains, listening to the heartbeat of his people. He saw them, those who from time to time plied the boats, manned the ships, sowed the seeds, and brought their harvests home. Those who labor in the fields and in the factories, in whose sorrows and cares beat the eternal rhythm of Indian life. Those who carried the cross and yet never perished. Those who built the world with their sweat and their toil. The itinerant monk kept moving from place to place, from one corner of the country to another, from state to state, from the plains and over to the hills. Strange and magnificent was the encounter with the variety and richness of Indian life. Here the villages of Rajasthan embraced the villages of Kerala. Here was India, eternal. The Swami heard the silence of the forest that echoes with the footsteps of time, and he felt purified at the cool touch of the rivers. Vivekananda knew no rest. Passing through the silent world of ancient architecture and sculptures, the ruins of a great civilization, he felt that he had read the message of history. He felt his being transformed by the magic touch of the great spirits of the past. The wandering monk at last reached the southern tip of India. Swimming across the shark-infested straits, he approached the twin rocks southeast of the Kanyakumari temple. Sitting in that last bit of India, he saw and understood, as in a vision, why India had been thrown from the pinnacle of glory to the depth of degradation. As a master builder sees the whole architectural design, he saw the whole of India and looked for the remedy. To the clear vision of the Swami appeared the answer. Renunciation and service must be the twin ideals of India. He hit upon a plan. He would throw away even his personal salvation for the collective liberation of his fellow men in India and abroad. He would cross the oceans and go to the West for help, to carry out his plans for the regeneration of his countrymen. He would make the aggressively self-conscious West bow down to the Oriental experience as embodied in India's message to the world. On Monday, September 11th, 1893, the first session of the Parliament of Religions was inaugurated at Chicago. Men from all nations were there. But it was the young man among them who represented nothing and everything, who drew the glance of the assembled thousands. He presented Hinduism as the mother of religions. He quoted two beautiful passages from the sacred books. Whoever comes to me, through whatsoever form, I reach him. All men are struggling through paths which in the end lead to me. Each of the other orators had spoken of his God, of the God of his sect. He alone spoke of all their gods and embraced them all in the universal being. At Chicago, the World Assembly of Religions reverberated with the Swami's message. A Christian is not to become a Hindu or a Buddhist, nor a Hindu or a Buddhist to become a Christian. But each must assimilate the spirit of the others and yet preserve his individuality and grow according to his own law of growth. And his call went into the hearts of those who listened to him. People had been stirred to their depths, and the message spread from country to country. The message of hope and light amidst the encircling gloom. The message of love and compassion, pledged to defeat hatred, intolerance, and narrowness. The homecoming of Swami Vivekananda may be regarded as a great event in the history of modern India. A united India rose to receive him. He was the man of the hour and the harbinger of a new era. While the steamer carrying Swamiji arrived in Pamban Road on Tuesday, the 26th January 1897 at 3 p.m., the Raja of Ramnad came in person to meet and receive him. Unharnessing the horses, the Raja and the people pulled the state carriage through the town. With him were also a group of Western disciples. The Master had inspired them to renounce all and to become his followers. At the very bottom of decadence of India, thundered Swami Vivekananda, lies our refusal to strive and conquer the material world, our refusal to work hard. This desire to strive to prosper was what we lacked and had perhaps lacked throughout our history. It was but for this desire to strive and prosper that Europe had encompassed the whole world. We need that striving. We need that love for freedom. We need that quality of self-reliance. We need unassailable patience. We need skill, that impregnable sense of unity, that striving for improvement, a new spirit which will stop us from looking back and will make us look ahead. We need these qualities in our very bloodstream, throbbing in every vein of our bodies. Not blind imitation, but assimilation. Such was the central theme of Swamiji's message. The aspiration to grow and prosper was lacking in India, while the West perhaps lacked that other quality, the search for spiritual values. To combine these two trends, to help in their assimilation, that was the sacred aim of his life, said Swami Vivekananda. Prodding them onto the path of action, Swamiji asked his fellow Indians, instead of spending your energies on frothy talk, have you found any way out, any practical solution, some help instead of condemnation, some sweet words to soothe their miseries, to bring them out of this living death on what passes in the name of education, Swamiji said. The education which does not help the common mass of people to equip themselves for the struggles of life, which does not bring out the sense of character, a spirit of philanthropy, and the courage of a lion, is it worth the name? Real education is that which enables one to stand on his own legs. On the question of reforms, Swami Vivekananda has said, reforms are not material things. It is a matter of the inner self. One cannot reform through legislature. What we need is knowledge. What we need is the flowering of the self. Educate and raise the masses, and thus alone a nation is possible. Education is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. He was less than 40 years of age when he lay stretched upon the pyre. But the flame of that pyre is still alight today. More than at any other time in history, Swami Vivekananda's message of seva and tyaga seemed most relevant in these troubled times of ours.